What you are witnessing is real. These tarot cards represent the current energies of specific people with a case pending in the Universal Court. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their spiritual beef and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the People's Court Tarot. Yes. Thank you for joining me. Divine, who is this? Divine Feminine? Yeah, Divine Feminine. Okay. I have read your complaint. This is your case here in front of me. So, Divine Feminine. It looks like your issue is that there is a certain job that needs to be done, a certain consistency that needs to be had, a certain clarity about what to do, okay? There just needs to be clarity about what to do. And you want somebody to just tell you the truth. You feel like the Divine Masculine might be wearing a mask. You feel like you might even be wearing a mask, right? You feel like you both might be pretending to be something other than what you are or who you are. And you just want to know the truth because you're really just tired of agonizing over this because, you know, you feel like it sends you on a merry-go-round and it like infects your other relationships. This not knowing whether or not the Divine Masculine is like a destructive force in your life or the greatest love in your life, because the function of the relationship, I think, thus far has been to interrupt and destroy other relationships or, you know, whatever, just cycles in your life. It just, number one, it just keeps coming back around with the Divine Masculine. But number two, every time it comes back around, it has some sort of a destructive force or destructive, what am I trying to say? Effect, right? A negative effect on whatever it is, whatever's going on when the energy comes back around. I think your other complaint too is that the only damn thing stable about this situation is that it continues to come back around. But that's the only stability. The only stability is the fact that it always seems to be over. It seems to be the only consistency in this relationship is that it's always over, is that things are always in hindsight. It's always in a rearview mirror. So I think it's like when the person is right up close with you, when the Divine Masculine is up close to you, when you have the potential or at least the ability to try to work on something positive, something or someone, some energy always gets in the way to the point that it's almost like you don't see the opportunity that you had in your face until it is gone. And I think that frustrates you. The other thing is that it always seems like, well, I think I just said that. Like there's just, you feel like the Divine Masculine, number one, is always turning his back on you. There's always some sort of a battle or a conflict, even though you both, I think, miss each other when you're not around. You both agonize over the situation. You both feel like the other you both feel like the other person is a destructive force, meaning you also both welcome the other person when they come back into your energy. And I'm saying I'm not saying that this is true, that the Divine Masculine also feels this way, but your complaint is that you feel like he feels this way. You feel like he feels the same way that you feel, which is this always comes back around. It always messes with the other relationship that you're with. The only thing consistent is that it's always over. It's always beautiful in hindsight. There's these missed opportunities. You feel like he feels that way. And I think that's part of your complaint is it's like if you feel that way too, then why do we both have to feel this way? Why can't there be some sort of some sort of celebration and being like, oh my God, we both feel that way. That's amazing. And some sort of a coming together and actually getting to the next step. But I think your complaint is that things always seem to be moving backwards, always moving and yet always moving backwards. So it's like, how fucking low can we go with this shit? And I think you feel like he's always, number one, I think you feel like he watches you flounder out there. He watches you just get lost. Like the same way I just had this train of thought of, well, this is what you think he's thinking and all this and that. I think that's part of your complaint too, is that he never steps in and gives you clarity about what he's thinking. So you're left to think for you and him, but then his energy is present. So that's frustrating. And the other thing too is that I think you feel like he always expects you to return, even if he puts no work in. It's like he puts no work in, which is why you leave. But then he always expects you to return. But the only way that you would return was if you put in work. So there's an expectation for you to return, but no effort. And so when you do return, that's your complaint as well, is that when you do return to each other, it's always through some sort of external force, as if by magic. Maybe you run into each other, or, readers always say signs and synchronicities. That phrase is kind of played out. But it is true in this case, is that you don't feel like you're willingly brought back. There's always some sort of explosion or, some sort of foundation that you were dealing with that crumbles. And then that kind of like the rubble falls, like the last piece of rubble just kind of trickles down to his door. And, there you are again. So I think that's your complaint too, is it's like, this doesn't go right, but nothing else goes right. And it's just kind of a destructive force, and you just wonder, is it a force for evil? Is it a force for good? Whatever it is we're supposed to be doing here, can we just fucking figure it out? So that is your complaint, Divine Feminine. I'm going to move over to the Divine Masculine side of the case and see what his response is to this. So, number one, I think he's saying that I think he's saying he does not share these feelings. So, and not to say all the feelings that you have he doesn't share, but this idea that there's this magical, universal something that always brings the situation back around. No, he does not share that feeling. He feels as if he witnesses the destructive effects in your life of you believing that, of you experiencing that, but he does not feel that way. And he feels like when there is, just like how you said, there's this force that happens and everything is destroyed and it brings you back to the Divine Masculine. He's saying that that force is you do it, your emotions do it, you build the bomb, you set the trigger, and then you are the villagers. And so then you're like, oh my God, who dropped this bomb on us? Meanwhile, you're MacGyver, like with the one piece of tape, and it was you. Oh my God. It's like Scooby-Doo, like it was you all along, that's what he's saying. And he's saying that for some reason, it's like, you don't know how to be slow and steady. You don't know how to build. You're always looking for the next adventure, and you use him as an excuse to set these fires, that he does not put out. I don't see any water here. I see someone watching this fire, actually, just watching. They're wishing for the best. They're hoping for the best. But I think this person does feel like, if you feel like this person does not, no, I'm not even gonna correct that. He's saying he does not help put these fires out. He just watches these situations restrict your freedom. And then, because then you are left to clean up your own mess, which then restricts your mobility. And in your mobility being restricted, you then build up this urge to move, and then you do it all over again because you feel like it's almost like firepower, like more turbo, more power, more combustion in your engine, right? If your emotions are an engine and you feel like, because after you've left to clean up your own mess, you feel like things are stagnant, then you create another explosion to make your emotions move faster, to make things go faster, because that makes you feel like things are happening. And so he's saying that's the magic that you feel like is, something always happens. It's like, no, it's like the rubber band effect. Like, you get restricted based off your own choices, and then once you're not restricted by your own choices anymore, then you want to fly and create some other explosion, you know, or whatever. So yeah, let me see if there's anything else. There's just the reiteration that there's nothing solid and it's always the same. It's always the same. And it's always a disaster. And he's really wishing for some sort of strong, solid foundation to actually build something. But everything is built on destruction. And even when he hopes for some sort of a solid offer, it's like there can't even be consistent talking about it without it being like pulled back into this emotional roller coaster that then goes haywire. But I think he's just trying to say he's hopeful. Okay. All right, I feel like that was pretty clear. Let me see if there's anything else. Sorry, just looking. Okay. Okay. Yep, I knew there was something else. Okay, I think the Divine Masculine is also saying Divine Feminine that when he tries to build something solid with a new person, you work diligently to undo that foundation. I think he's trying to say you come in and you've just wreaked havoc on other relationships of his. And so this is weird. This is a little bit of a twist because I think he's also saying that like he hopes you'll come sometimes. Sometimes that destruction is necessary. So I think it's like a barometer of which relationships are solid or which ones are not, like which ones can sustain you. But he needs you to be clear that you are the hurricane in this situation. There is no it. It is you. Like white men can't jump. It is you, Billy. You are Billy, Divine Feminine. It is you. You are the hurricane. But he does know how to wield you if need be in other relationships in his life and use that effect to his benefit to get him out of a situation that he should have been out of in the first place. What? Okay. Let's just get the verdict on this, because what in the fuck? Okay. There's the Six of Cups that we talked about. So damn, Divine Masculine or Divine Feminine, this verdict is just saying that the universe will always give new opportunities for you to recognize in hindsight what you should have said or done, and always will make you choose choose in situations. The way that you feel like the divine masculine comes into your relationships and causes some sort of destructive effect. I think divine masculine was saying he has accepted that about your dynamic, and he uses it to gauge which relationships he should or should not be in, and which ones can withstand this effect. I think the verdict is saying that you should consider doing the same, is using this dynamic as a way to gauge which of your relationships are solid or not, because this dynamic is not going anywhere, and it's always going to be a situation of hindsight. So number one, it's an opportunity for you to act right the first time and actually maybe build something solid the first time, as opposed to having to build something flimsy, and then you need this energy of the divine masculine to come in and wreak this havoc and destroy it. If the foundation is firmly built the first time, number one, if divine masculine comes back around, it will not wreak havoc on this foundation, and you can incorporate the divine masculine or that energy, that back and forth energy, because you have this solid foundation. But also, I feel like this is just, it's saying like this is the opportunity to help you figure out who's your tribe and who's not. Because this ability to use this energy between you and divine masculine to hurt other people, other innocent people, you all are always going to have that. So it's it's like, what's your responsibility though? Like, how will you, knowing that you just kind of have this bomb in your backpack, like, where do you put your backpack? Where do you leave it? Where do you put the thing that can blow up everything? Because where you put it says a lot about you. Are you out here bombing villages? Or do you go put it off in some remote place where it can't bother anyone? Or do you build a fortress and put it in the basement and, everything's cool? I mean, what? It's like, you just have to figure out what you're going to do about that. Because it is a past life connection. It is a divine connection. But you still have to live this life with people now. And you don't have the right to hurt them just because of divine masculine. So you have to figure out what you're going to do about that. Because I think he kind of has a handle on it. That's what he's trying to say. But what are you going to do? All right. So that's pretty much it, Divine Feminine. I'm going to close out by saying I'm here to remind you, if you have a dispute and you just can't work it out, don't take karmic law into your own hands. You take them to court. Bye-bye.